Let me start with a question. If God were to write a book today, besides the Bible, what do you think it would be about? Not to replace scripture, not to correct it, but to speak directly into this moment, this world, this generation. I don't think it would be about new rules. I don't think it would be about winning arguments. And I don't think it would sound like noise competing with noise. I think it would be about relationship, not religion, about presence, not performance, about love that stays even when everything else leaves. I imagine the pages wouldn't shout, they speak quietly but clearly. It might say things like, "You've confused busyness with faithfulness. You've learned how to speak about me, but forgotten how to sit with me. You quote my words, but you rush past my heart." And to a world exhausted by constant noise, I think God would write, "Be still. I'm not hiding from you. I never left. You just stopped listening." What would He want everyone to know today? Probably not something new, just something urgently remembered. That you are not invisible even when your prayers feel unanswered. That grief is not lack of faith, and love doesn't end when a life does. That your worth has never been measured by your productivity, your influence, or your success. That following me was never meant to be loud, impressive, or Instagram worthy. And maybe most importantly, I think he wants people to hear this. I am not disappointed in you for being human. To the wounded, the lonely, the doubting, the tired, he might write, "I see the tears you don't explain. I hear the prayers you stopped finishing. I understand the silence you didn't choose." I wonder what might surprise people most. I think many would expect correction, but instead receive compassion. Instead of, "Why didn't you do more?" they would hear, "Why didn't you let me carry you?" Instead of, "Prove your faith," they will hear, "Trust me with your weakness." And to a divided, defensive, and harsh world, I think God will write plainly, if your faith makes you cruel, you misunderstood me. Now, the chaos. If God were addressing this moment in history, I don't think he explained the chaos away. He would acknowledge it, not with panic, but with clarity. Something like, "The world feels louder because it's afraid. Confusion multiplies when truth is treated as optional. Darkness doesn't mean I'm absent, it means light is needed." The Bible already tells us chaos isn't new. What is new is the speed, the reach, the constant exposure. We were never designed to absorb the pain of the world, the whole world, every minute of every day. That overloads hardens some hearts and exhausts others. So maybe God's message wouldn't be "fix the world," but instead, "stay faithful inside it." And what about a world full of atheists? I don't think God is threatened by atheism. I don't think he he will write with anger. I think he'll write with grief and patience because many people didn't reject God after studying him carefully and finding him lacking. They rejected a version of God that was misrepresented, weaponized, or silent in their pain. So maybe God will say, some of you stop believing in me because the people who spoke for me did not look like me. That's not condemnation, that's truth. And to believers, he might write something harder to swallow. He might write, you will not argue people into faith, but you might love them into curiosity. In a world that demands proof, God might still choose witnesses over evidence. Not less truth, but truth embodied. Chaos and unbelief, an uncomfortable opportunity. Here's the part we don't always like to admit. The early church didn't grow in comfort, it grew in chaos. Not because chaos is good, but because clarity becomes precious when everything else is unstable. When institutions fall, people start asking deeper questions. What actually lasts? Who am I when everything is stripped away? Why do I still ache for meaning? Those questions aren't atheistic, they're human. If God were to sum it all up for this generation, maybe he write, you call it chaos, I call it labor pains. You call it the death of faith, I call it the stripping away of illusions. I'm not gone, I'm closer than you think, but I won't compete with noise. And maybe the quietest truth of all would be this: the world doesn't need louder Christians, it needs truer ones. And I imagine the final chapter wouldn't be a conclusion, but an invitation. It would sound like this: I'm not asking you to figure everything out, I'm asking you to walk with me again, slowly, honestly, as you are. And maybe, just maybe, the very last line will say, I never stopped loving you. I was waiting for you to believe it.